Joining me now is Roger Karge from darkemuexposed.org. Roger Karge, thank you so much for joining me. To start with, what did you and your researchers do in researching Gordon Reid's family tree? Why have you been fairly confident you couldn't find evidence that he does have an Aboriginal ancestor?
Well, Andrew, the way we do this work is we get phone calls and emails from Aboriginal people. So I've got quite a few Wiradjuri friends, and they say, Roger, look, there's something doesn't look right here. So then we go and sort of look at the family. So we don't just do it randomly. We only do it because Aboriginal people that we know ask us. So with this one, we've got really good techniques now, really good AI and really good computer stuff that in the past it used to take months to do a family tree. Now we can do them in days, sometimes hours, just depending on how complicated they are. And with Gordon Reid's family, it's all based on his grandmother. She's a lovely lady. If you go on YouTube, she's a sweet little grandmother. I wouldn't mind her as a grandmother. And she comes from a very, not famous, but a really deeply colonial family. They go back 7 or 8 generations in Australia, and very easy to follow because all the records are there. They were convicts, settlers, there's all newspaper clippings, so that sort of stuff. So we were able to go back and trace every one of her ancestors. Now, as I understand it, Dr. Gordon Reid's not claiming any Aboriginality from his father's side, so we didn't go, his mother's side, so we didn't go there. So he went to his father and his paternal grandmother, Robin Reid. So we've been down that tree, right? And there's no Aboriginality as far as we can find, because if there is, you find it. The newspaper reports start talking about Aboriginal people, or you'll find some sort of record or a criminal record or something like that. And there's nothing in that. And all her family go back to England, mainly, with a couple of Irish ancestors, 7 or 8 generations. So we're pretty confident, as far as we can see, that there's nothing there.
Now, I don't know whether you've heard Gordon Reid in Parliament on Monday suggesting that we're taking his pride away from him. And why would we do this? Why does this work matter?
Well, it actually matters, Andrew, because, especially in this year, because of the voice, right? So if you're going to have special opportunities, jobs, or voting rights through the voice for Aboriginal people, if we all vote that way, the Australian public have to be 100% certain that the people that are sitting on the voice and voting and getting all the benefits really are Aboriginal. And in Australia, you've got the 3-part rule. Now, Dr. Gordon Reid, he's proud to be Aboriginal because he self-identifies and other people recognise him as such. But that's not enough. That's only 2 parts. You need the 3rd part by law that you have descent. And so if he hasn't got descent, right, and he's saying he's Aboriginal, well, the whole thing's a farce. We might as well all just go home, right? Because then anyone can be Aboriginal. You know what I mean? So then you get people who say things like, well, the quickest way to close the gap, Andrew, is if everyone ticked the box next census and everyone became Aboriginal, closing the gap would go because we'd all be the same. But that defeats the purpose. And that's the trouble with all these people who aren't doing things properly, right? So it's not right. And it upsets a lot of Aboriginal people and a lot of non-Aboriginal people. And people are getting upset, right? And it's only going to cause divisions and problems. And then longer term, if for example, Gary Johns says, if you're going to have a race-based system in Australia, you have to be able to determine race. So Gary Johns, he doesn't really want it to happen, but he's saying, well, that means you've got to do DNA testing. And none of us really want to go down that path, but Gary Johns is 100% right. If you're going to give people benefits based on their DNA, you have to be able to determine the DNA.
Just to put viewers in the picture, Gary Johns, of course, is someone I've interviewed here. He is a former Labor minister and one of the leaders of the No campaign, suggesting, well, look, if you're going to have race-based benefits and a race-based politics, then you need to actually prove to people that you are of that race.